So I seen this on NBA Game Time the other day when Paul George and Embiid were up there together, and Embiid kind of like subtly, mentioned like, "Hey, we might add some pieces and like, give Paul George the look." Um, I don't know. I don't really love the Paul George thing. I think Paul George would definitely be an upgrade over Tobias Harris. I get it, but a team with Paul George, in my own opinion, it doesn't get you closer to beating the Boston Celtics. Um, you have Embiid, who's often injured. He's a stud when he's on the court. We know that, but at some point that he's going to get hurt. We just it's inevitable. It's happened every year since he's been in Philadelphia. It's inevitable that Paul George is going to be hurt at some time too. And you got Maxi, so you got two of your top three guys that you're not, sure about what their health is going to be, and are probably just not ultra reliable. If you're going to get that guy in free agency, whoever that's going to be, or you're going to build the team out with with role players like 3 and D guys, if you can get those kind of guys. But to have two of your top three are guys that are often injured, and not from a youth standpoint, but Paul George is a little bit longer in the tooth than Embiid is. So, like, then there's that. I don't know. I just don't. I definitely agree that Paul George would be an upgrade from Tobias Harris. But as far as getting them over the hump, and potentially getting to the finals, I'm just not sure a pairing of Paul George and Embiid and Maxi necessarily do that. I know the Jimmy Butler thing was floated around, as I mentioned in the previous post myself, but Jimmy would have to be traded. And I know some people didn't like the Jimmy thing too, but as I mentioned previously, Jimmy is historically more successful in the playoffs than Paul George, and he's more successful in the playoffs than Embiid as well. And with a team that hasn't been out the second round, and the amount of time that the Sixers haven't been out of the second round, you want somebody who's won. You know what I mean? And a guy like Jimmy Butler, he hasn't won at all, but he's been there. I mean, the guy was two wins from an NBA championship 2 times with a pretty overmatched team. Both times, I think both people would agree that that the Lakers were a better team than his Heat team, and the Denver Nuggets were a better team than his Heat team as well. But yeah, I just don't know that Paul George solves that problem for the Sixers, and hopefully Daryl Morey can get a little creative this offseason and figure something out. Uh, because if next year is another year where the Sixers don't make it out of the second round of the playoffs, it's going to be some really, really, really hard questions, to the organization. Some really hard questions about Joel Embiid. Can they win with Embiid? And can they win with Embiid is no knock on who he is as a player, but you know, leadership. Again, how reliable he is. So if if the Sixers don't, if they don't do what they need to do this off season, there are going to be some really tough questions at the end of the year. You let me know what you guys think.